So there's some of you who are not in class, and there are lots of you who are. I'm going to pass two sheets. One is an enrollment request. So if you're not in class, please put your name down there. And the only way you're going to get in is somebody else drops. And I'm going to pass an attendance sheet. And if you are in class, be sure to check your name. If you don't check your name in the first 2 weeks, you get automatically picked. Okay? So I'll let you just pass these around. And if there's any, actually, if everybody's fitting here, then we have no problem. But I know a bunch of people said, can we just audit? And since we have such few seats, I said, I basically discouraged them there. But if somebody's here who wants to audit and just sit through, that's fine as long as we have seats. Okay. So what are your chances that to get in if you're not already in class? In the past, about 20% of the students do drop, within the 2 weeks or so, for various reasons. I'm hoping this time things are going to be a little different from the way I've taught this course before. There's a seat here if you want. Okay. So I'm hoping things would be smoother this time for at least some of you, and so the number may be much smaller. But just to let you know what the probabilities are, I'm hoping nobody drops. Okay. So what you need to do is take down this course page. This is your passport to everything we do in the course. If you forget what the page is, just Google my name 401 or just Google my name, and you'll find the page. Okay. Well, I'll give you guys a few seconds to note that page down.
Is this 401, 02, or 001?
001. Okay. And actually, since this is the sheet I have, if we know. Okay. So the course page has much more information than what I can get into today, and you should really browse through it. So anybody need more time to take it down? Okay, good. For communication, this link is on the course page. We'll be using PIAZZA, and I'm sure, how many of you have not used PIAZZA before? Okay, there's a sizable number. So when I first, started using PIAZZA, I was the first course here, so there was not that many, but now it's pretty popular, and all communication that is of a non-personal kind, if you want to go and say, look, why were my grades this and not that, you don't go and post that to PIAZZA. But if you have any question, do post that on PIAZZA rather than contacting us directly. You might feel shy and say, oh, this will make me look stupid. Trust me, if you have a question, there's about 20 other people who have that question, and you're smart enough to articulate it. The other ones aren't even smart enough to do that. Okay, so don't feel there's no such thing as a stupid question, and this way, I get an idea of what what the level of understanding is also in the course. With such a large number, it's easy to lose that. Okay, so sign up on PIAZZA as soon as possible, because all announcements will be made there. Okay, so rather than cluttering our mailboxes, we'll be just looking at the PIAZZA threads. And the user interface is pretty easy for those of you who haven't used it, so hopefully you won't have many problems. Okay. And these announcements will be important very quickly because the first assignment is due in a week. Okay. And that sounds a little unusual, I'm sure, because we haven't even done anything and I'm giving you an assignment. Does that make sense? Do you have an assignment due the first week? Yes? Good, I want to see these. So the two questions, is it good to have an assignment the first week, and does it make sense? So first, does it make sense? I haven't taught you anything, so what could I be testing? Prior knowledge to get an idea. Okay, so I've got a bunch of emails that have asked me, am I really a good fit for this class? And I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to answer back those individual emails, but I was going to address that today. And it's you know, you guys are coming from different backgrounds, and to just get an idea whether you fit or not, you should, you know, you'll get that idea through the assignment. Okay, and the first week, few other instructors will give you assignments, so I have your cycles, and let me use them, right? So that's another reason to have an assignment. So any questions so far, please? Please feel free to ask. Yeah.
What is the difference between COM 401 and 401-001?
Good. So there's two sections, 401-001 and 401-002.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it was like a subsection or something.
No. It's just that, you know, we have so many eager people who want to learn that we have two instructors teaching it. In fact, this is the first time we are doing this. Normally, there's only one 401, and now we have two sections. And it's funny that, so this is going to be interesting. I have to turn this off. We'll see. So, you know, as an academic, as a computer person, you spend too much time staring at the screen. So I have this little program that reminds me that, you know, take a break. And I haven't installed it. I haven't taught since then. But I don't want to get out of PowerPoint mode. If you notice, you see here a number here. What do you think this is saying? Recording. Has anybody ever recorded your PowerPoint slides for you? Well, you know, it exists. Sorry.
I found PowerPoints online.
With recordings?
Yeah, it's very useful. I can take courses from other schools.
You know, I actually spent a year at Microsoft on sabbatical, and very few people, even in the Office division, knew that you could record this stuff. And I was the sort of, you know, evangelist there saying, hey, this is good for education. And I've been recording things for the last, you know, 5-7 years. And we'll talk about those recordings in more depth, okay? So I don't want to get out of this mode right now and shut that program down, but I'll have to figure this out for next time. Well, actually, I'll talk about how, but we'll talk about this. Okay, any other issues? Okay, so talking about, you know, do you belong in this class or not? We have two courses on programming, Comp 110 and 401, okay? So there's really two questions. Am I too good for this class, or am I not prepared for this class, okay? Even if you had extensive programming, I think you'll benefit from this course. So don't spend too much time on the first question, okay? If you're in, just stay in. Okay? The second question is the more important question. And if you don't do 401, well, what do you do if you're interested in computer science? Well, you do 110, okay? So that's a question for you. And that's a question many people ask at the beginning of the class, and people decide that, hey, I should go to 110 often, and that's how we get the 20% drop rate. That's part of the reason why you get 20% drop rate. So 110 is our first course. It's called 110. It should be probably called 101. And this seems beyond it. So what do you guys think is the difference between sort of the first course and what you might see here? We require you to take this course, so we didn't require you to really think about this question. Okay? You don't have an option. But what might you expect here that you haven't learned in your previous course?
Maybe a lot more theory.
A lot more theory.
Involving the Java programming language.
So a lot more theory about the Java programming language. Now, when you understand the language, it's kind of, you do understand how it works, right? So when you say theory, you mean go deeper?
Like
Algorithms or objects?
data structures.
Algorithms, data structures. And what is another term I heard somewhere?
Objects.
Objects, okay.
Inheritance.
Inheritance, okay. So can the answer be data structures? Anybody know? Anybody looked at our syllabus? Our course, anybody looked at our undergraduate syllabus? You know what requirements there are?
Pretty sure there's a full class on data structures.
There is a class called 410, which is data structures. And typically, after a course like 110, you go to 410. So this is a kind of unusual course, okay? And algorithms, Has anybody seen a course called Algorithms in our syllabus, in our plan? It's a course on algorithms. So 2 out of 3 no. Objects. Now, how many of you have done objects in your first class? Some of you have, right? And some of you haven't. So that seems like a kind of thing that we might do in this class. Okay, so that's indeed true. And then somebody mentioned inheritance and so forth. So what's the guiding principle going to be? A bunch of things you haven't done that may be useful. Well, that's not a bad guiding principle. We have you for one more course. But if you were to, I mean, how would you say you would be a different person, a different programmer? What can you say in your resume that, look, I've done 401, so I'm ready for this now?
Are you going to teach us like the best way to approach problems?
Best way to approach problems. So in 110, maybe we just saw the most obvious way, right? And now we're going to talk of better ways, okay? And things can be better in many ways. They can be better in terms of the efficiency of the algorithm, in terms of the data structure you use. So that's going to be somebody else's. Okay. Yeah.
Version control.
Version control. So, so these are all good things to learn. And we'll do a little bit of that because some of the code I have is in a version control system, and you'll be just getting it. You won't be changing it, okay? But we have a software engineering course that is going to cover that in more depth. So, so that's not going to be it either. Anything else? Yeah? Program efficiency. Okay, so so you can get the program correct and you can do other things with it. And one of them is to make it efficient. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but again, algorithms and data structures tend to go more into that. Okay, so when you write a program, it's the efficiency you wonder about, it's the correctness you wonder about. What else do you wonder about when you write the program? This correctness, this efficiency.
Style. Commenting. Style.
Commenting. Okay, commenting. And before that, what did you say?
Style.
Style. Okay. So when we do English or composition, I can teach you grammar, or I can teach you how to write. If you don't know the grammar, it's hard to teach you how to write. Okay. So style we talk about in English composition. Style we talk about in programming. So a lot of it is going to be about style. Okay? And now, why is style important? I mean, you've got this wonderful app in mind. You've got it working. The whole world uses it. Who cares what's in the code somewhere?
Makes it easier to debug or troubleshoot.
Makes it easier to debug and troubleshoot. Okay, so what if your program is so popular that everybody's using it, and they want one feature, and this is 2 years later, and you say, I don't know what it was. Okay? So you should be able to read your program later and understand it. And maybe your company grew. Now you've got 20 employees, and they need to understand your program. So, when you talk about a Hello World program, how many ways are there to write a Hello World program? Okay, not many. As you get bigger, there's more variation possible. There's more need for style, and so that's going to be more of what you're going to see here. How to write large programs. Okay, not necessarily the most efficient programs that you learn in data structures. So I think of data structures as writing small programs that are complex, where you've got this one loop that you really want to make sure is efficient, and you'll prove to death whether it's got the correct number of steps or not. Here we're talking about writing a large program and how do we organize our code to do so. Okay, so think about that rather than writing tweets or little paragraphs, we are writing a book, a play. Okay? And from day one, we'll be aiming for that. rather than just get something going. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways in which people view these two courses. People say 401 is for majors, 110 is for non-majors. I didn't say that. And why do you think that's not a very good way to distinguish the two courses? But that's 90% of the faculty will say, I don't know what they do in 401, but that's for majors. How many of you are not majors in computer science? There you go. You want to be in 401, but you're not majors. Okay? How many of you have taken 110? A lot of you. There you go. You're a major, you took 110. Okay? So a lot of students, it has to do with what you know rather than what your intention is. So that's not a good reason. But it is true that a lot of majors have taken a 110-like course early, so that's not a wrong way to go and explain it. It's not just very precise. Okay? And many 110 students become majors. Okay? So then the other thing becomes objects. So, before object-oriented languages were, were a new thing at some point. And before that, they were conventional languages. And some of you might have even heard of them, like Pascal, C, a lot of you have heard of. Okay? So we can say that in 401, we'll do object-oriented programming. And 110, yeah, you might have used Java, but maybe you didn't use Java, the full strength of Java. You used Java really like C. Okay? So that's going to be so that's going to be a difference also. That both 401 do have objects in them. And it's but we'll go into objects in more depth. And is it Java versus non-Java? A lot of times people distinguish courses by the language. And again, our 110 is in Java, so surely that could not be the reason. Some of you might have not taken a course with Java. The first course may not be in Java. You'll face a little bit of struggle. I had that question yesterday. But you should be able to, as long as you work a little harder the first week or so, you should be able to cope. Okay? So 110 and 401 are both in Java. Language is not the issue. And if you haven't done Java before, don't feel too scared. I mean, yes, if you go into an English class and you know Chinese, I mean, you should feel a little scared, right? So yes, feel a little scared. You've got to pick up some vocabulary. You've got to pick up some grammar. But this course, every instructor will say, oh, this course is not about this language. It's about how you think, right? And ultimately, it is a little bit about the language, at least. Okay, so you can't say it's not about the language. But we try to make sure that the language dependency is small. And you may have programmed in Java extensively. You might know the Java API extensively. In that case, you are at an advantage compared to those who don't. Well, we'll neutralize things by banning the use of things that we have not seen in class. Okay? So you can't show off your Java language. Now, that seems like a limitation, right? That seems like I'm putting chains around you. Why does that make sense?
Yeah, because I took this Java last semester for non-credit, but maybe it's different from this proper one. But when I was asking the instructor why we use the comma, we don't do the comma, he said it's too early for that. So you call it a language. So the language you have to say where we put the verb, where we put the noun. So every time they teach this language, you can use why it's printed and why it's printed, why it's printed. So they say just get it in your mind like that. So we were just typing. We get the result and the output from the program. But when we get the origin or we get a question or project, so how we start? So what I want to write. So this is the most complicated when they say language. In regular language, they will tell you that the sentence structure is 1, 2, 3. So I looked in the Google to see where is the vocabulary of this Java. How can I find the rest? So you use equal, don't use equal. So What is the main challenge?
So there's a lot of grammatical problems you're talking
Yeah.
about. So the grammar, you know, you'll have to learn a little bit about it, but we'll use an environment called Eclipse that will help you with the grammar. And this course is not about memorizing and grammar, okay? So when I ask you exam questions and you have to write Java programs, you get your comma wrong, I don't care. I get the comma wrong all the time. You know, I've learned enough languages to be very confused about each language. So both in programming language and natural languages. So it's not about grammar. And the question I was really asking, which some of you may not be able to answer because you don't know that, you haven't seen enough of Java. But Java has this rich API. There's a language with the grammar, and there's also a bunch of libraries, things that people have built for you, so that you don't have to do work. And I'm saying I'm going to ban the use of libraries. And why does that make sense?
So we have to do it ourselves.
Because I want you to do the work, right? I want you guys to be the ones who write the future libraries. And if you can't write those libraries, if you don't understand how those libraries work, how can you go further? And there are instructors who go and say, why teach them what a hash table is? It's already implemented, and who cares? Who cares what the underlying theory is? And there's others like me who say, you don't understand what's going on unless you understand how your hardware works, how your compilers work, how your operating system works, and how the language works. Okay? So I'm not going to teach you how the compiler works or the operating system works in this course, but certainly we're going to learn how to do challenging problems. And often the problems I'll give you are solved in libraries. Okay? So I don't want to use the libraries because I want you to solve the problems. Okay? So that's a good news, that whatever, if you only learn what I teach in class, there's seats in front also. Please don't sit down in the ground, okay? This right here. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. The first course you did was introductory programming. What's after introductory? Well, we'll call it intermediate. Okay? We won't call it advanced. That's too pompous. That who knows? Who knows if anyone ever becomes an advanced programmer or not? Okay, but it's beyond introductory programming. That's the goal. Okay, that's the principle. And now you can meet this goal in many ways. So the course that was taught an hour ago probably is going to cover different topics than what I will cover. Okay, because there's a judgment. There's just so much to teach. And I can pick this piece, and you can take, somebody else can pick this piece. And there is no standard book on saying this is an intermediate programming. Okay? So that's why I'm spending all this time trying to figure out, trying to understand with you what we might do here. Okay? Your introductory programming language may be object-oriented. Okay? We'll see what that really means in this course. So it might have been Java, which is an object-oriented language. It may have been a non-object-oriented language. It might have been C. Okay? And if you have not done object-oriented, you are going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. But I will say also this from experience, that if you are not scared, you don't do well. Okay? So like I said, if you haven't done object-oriented or Java before, be scared. If you're scared, you'll do better than those who are not scared, who will say, oh, I know this, let me go sleep. And then when I mention something that they don't know, they're in trouble. Okay? So, we talked about grammar and syntax. So we're going to start off by just assuming you know something that's with some concepts that all languages have. And we'll see the Java syntax for that. And the first assignment just says, use your skills from previous programming languages. I'll give you enough information about the syntax you need for the problem, and just convert your Chinese into English, essentially. Whatever language you know into the language that we are going to program. Okay? So that's what the first assignment is about. And it will have an algorithm. It is somewhat complicated. So we'll see how well you can really program, how well you can really think with the background that you have. Okay? And there'll be repetition for those who know object-oriented programming. Okay? Now, those of you who've done Java, you know, or Python, you know the word class, right? So how many of you have written a program with more than one class? Okay, very good. With more than 2 classes? A single program with more than 2 classes? 5 classes? Okay, 1 person. 10 classes? 20? Okay, finally I got his hand down. So we'll have about 40 classes in our project, finally. Okay? And that might sound a little scary, but we've got a whole semester to do it. Okay? So that's the extent. If you understand the complexity of having multiple classes, you understand somewhat the complexity of what you will do in this course. Okay? So intermediate programming means programming that is a program that is object-oriented, divided into classes, and divided into a largish number of classes. Okay? So that's the skill you'll have. So when you go out after this course and want to put in your resume, you know, what can I do? You can say, I can write largish programs. I've written a program with 40 classes. Okay? You can write that down, and lots of people will be very impressed. Okay? So you are ready for internships after this class. Okay? And you may not be so after 110. Internships with not JavaScript, but serious Java programs. Okay, so because this is intermediate programming, because there's so many definitions of intermediate programming, there's no textbook, okay? And I've tried to compensate for that, and I've worked very hard on that, and we'll see. I'll show you the fruits soon, but I'm hoping that will not be a problem, okay? I've taught this course before, and it's not really been a problem, and I'm going to do things very radical, very different this time. Hopefully that will solve problems rather than create problems. Okay? We'll talk about that. In terms of what I mean by certain concepts that are in every language, okay? I mean some of these things here. And the key is that you should know how to call procedures, methods, functions, subroutines. These are just synonyms for the same basic concept. If you have trouble calling a piece of code with parameters, you're going to be really lost in this class. Okay? So we can divide a program into classes, which is what we'll do here. And you can divide a class into procedures, functions, methods. I assume you can divide a class into these already. Okay, that's what your first course should have been about. Okay, and of course, in these methods, you can have arrays or strings. Some people do arrays and clauses without strings. How many of you have done Comp 116? Okay, and you didn't do strings there, did you? You did? Okay, but if you did arrays, you're fine. Okay, and there was at one time a Comp 110 instructor who would not do arrays in his Comp 110. He would just do strings. Okay, because they're similar concepts. So, so that's what you should know how to do, and you should know how to use conditionals and loops and in a sophisticated fashion. Okay, so these are so if some of these concepts are just totally foreign to you, then maybe you're going to have trouble with the first assignment. Okay, but the first assignment will be the key. Okay, you'll see whether you can do it or not. Okay, and you'll know very quickly. Questions? So there's the weeding out first assignment. And let's talk about that assignment, because I don't know how far we'll get today. So I assigned it yesterday. Actually, I put it on the web yesterday. Anybody gone to my web page already? Okay, very good. I hope the links work. Please tell me on PIAZZA as soon as possible if the links don't work. I have a very complicated synchronization system where my laptop gets synchronized with my desktop, which gets synchronized with the cloud. So it's things can go wrong. Okay. Now assignments will be normally assigned on Thursdays. Okay. This one I've assigned on Tuesday because we didn't need any material. And there'll be 2 completion dates. Okay. Should aim for the assignment to be done by Wednesday night. If you do so, you get 5% extra credit. You know, getting programs correct is always tricky. And if you can't do so, that's okay. You have 2 more days, and you have till Friday night to fix it, okay, without losing any points. Okay? So the real submission date is a Friday night, but we are hoping that you'll target Wednesday night. And even if you're satisfied with no extra credit, we advise you shoot for. Okay? So that sounds good? Okay. Every assignment will have some extra credit portion. Okay? And, you know, for obvious reasons, that it's easy to, you know, this is programming. If you can't get the program right in 1 week, you know, you can certainly have trouble getting it right in 20 minutes. Okay, and in an exam, that can be a real problem. So some of you are good at thinking on your feet in a short amount of time. Some of you aren't. Okay, and those of you who either bomb or not do as well in the first exam can always compensate by doing more extra credit. Okay? Also, you know, here's a person who's done 20 classes, and a lot of you have done just 2 classes. Okay, so I don't want him to get very bored. Okay, so I want to challenge him a little bit also. Okay? So that's also a reason why there's extra credit. And, but what I would recommend to you is that do not do extra credit unless you have a lot of time or unless you really need to do it. Okay, so students end up doing extra credit. Okay, they all complain, so much work, but they all end up trying the extra credit. And that's partly because, you know, the project is going to be interesting. Okay, you won't feel that you're doing something for me for this class. You'll just feel like doing it. I mean, maybe I'm being very optimistic, but that's what I feel the students do feel, and I've tried to design it to be such. Okay, so you'll just want to do it because it's a challenge. Okay? But when I allocate points, I make it hard. I allocate fewer amount of points for the same amount of work, and it's extra credit. Okay, I'm saying this person already knows the subject; they don't need the points, and that's also to discourage you to do that extra credit. So I'm giving you extra credit, but I'm discouraging you, just because I want you guys to do well in your other courses also. Okay, so don't get too obsessed with this course, because it will, you know, getting something working is exciting. Okay, but beyond a certain point, it's law of diminishing returns, and you know, focus on your philosophy and physics classes also, where you might not have tangible products being created. Okay, so students have varying interests and abilities. I want to challenge people, make up or insurance against bad grade in other assignments or exams. So, you know, often people do badly in exams and say, what can I do now? And I want to just give it to you up front. Okay, this is what you could have done, and if you have time, go ahead and do it. You know? So you might have a choice. I can do extra credit and submit it on Friday night, or I can not do extra credit and do it on Wednesday night. Okay, and you can see what my advice is. My advice is finish on Wednesday night and study a philosophy course. Okay? But at 11:55, you realize that, you know, you can't figure out why this mistake occurred. And, you know, I'm teaching 2 courses this semester, and last night I figured out that one of the demos I planned for the other course was not working. And you know, goodbye sleep. So these things happen, and you say, okay, now I've missed the Wednesday deadline. I have time on Friday. So now that I've missed that deadline, let me do 10 more points of extra credit without losing out on my other courses. Okay? So that's what my advice is. And you know, you guys, you're in control of your lives. You know better what your priorities are. But that's my advice. Okay, like I said, if you're already late, might as well do extra credit to make up for late points. Okay, any questions on this now?
So I assume that program has to be fully functional if we're going to get any credit, or?
So we'll talk about that. Okay. Whenever I give you a problem, there's going to be extra credit, there's going to be regular credit, and there's going to be constraints, those chains I was going to put on your hands, saying, thou shalt not do this, and thou shalt not do this to get this answer. Okay? Please read those constraints carefully and make sure that you understand them correctly. And so that's something I want to mention. Okay, so I'm going to forbid the use of certain code that other people have written. Okay, that's what libraries are. There's the programming language, and there's what people have written over the language. Okay. So the goal is not to teach Java and its libraries. Teach how to build these libraries. And like I said, usually Java features not covered in class will be banned. And we'll use certain programming techniques. So saying, oh, I wrote a program with 20 classes. Why is that impressive? Because of the number of classes? What is the challenge? What is the challenge in writing a program with 20 classes? Connect these classes, or more important, to figure out how to create these classes. How do you decompose your program into multiple classes? That's a challenge. The person who wrote just one class might have written a larger program than the one who wrote 20 classes. Okay, the reason, the connection, and what you're talking about, connection, that is going to be the biggest challenge. Okay? It's a challenge for me also. When I go and write a program with zillions of classes, I forget. I know how each class works, but I just don't know how it all connects together. Okay? So that's going to be, so we will learn programming techniques, well-known techniques to decompose your program into classes. So that after doing this project, the assignments here, you go to your internship, you say, aha, similar problem, similar decomposition, I can do it. So when you write down in a resume, I've done 40 classes, you won't just write 40 classes. You say, I know these, quote, design patterns. We'll talk about those. I know these well-known patterns I've programmed, and if your project requires these patterns, I'm armed. Okay? So that's something else you see here. Yeah, questions? So correctness is only one of the goals. It must be efficient, and what I mean by efficient is it should not be grossly inefficient. Okay, fine efficiency you will learn in algorithms and data structures. Okay, where you need some theory, you talked about theory. That's where you need theory. You need theory to go and reason about your programs. Okay, and that kind of theory you will learn in other classes. Okay? So this is going to be a lot of programming rather than a lot of paper and pen. So you have assignment 1 already due, and then there'll be assignment 2, 3, 4, and so forth. And these are all layered. Assignment 2 is built on assignment 1, assignment 3 will be built on assignment 2, and so forth. Like the idea? One person says yes. You like the idea because? You build something cool by the end. Anybody not like the idea? Life is about trade-offs. We'll see that in this class. What could?
I mean, well, I don't like it, but like the problem with that is if you don't finish the first one, or if you don't understand how it works, you have a hard time connecting that class to another class.
So what if your assignment 1 doesn't work well? Your assignment 2 isn't problem. What if your foundation is bad and you're on 4th floor right now? Okay. Well, it's not so bad. We're not going up buildings. But what does that mean? You have to go back. When you're doing assignment 4, you've got to go back and do assignment 1. Right? So I tell my TAs, yeah, don't be too worried about testing their programs. They will test their programs themselves when they write the next assignment. Okay?
How many layered assignments are there? Is it just one course, or?
No, there's going to be an assignment due every week.
No, I was like project. I'm sorry.
So there's going to be an assignment due every week, and they'll all add up to being one big project.
So it's all one big project for the whole course.
You're talking about testing. Do we go into unit testing at all?
Do we go into unit testing? So I used to do some of that stuff, but it's going to be, that's a subject that, again, software engineering courses focus on. And, you know, a lot of times people take a course like mine and say, I'll give a little bit of data structures, a little bit of algorithms, a little bit of software engineering, and that I'll call a course. I want to teach you stuff that nobody else will teach you. Okay? When you want, you know, so if you either, you know, when you do the thing, you do it properly, or you don't do it at all. So what we look at certain concepts, and testing. If I'm going to do unit testing, I want to do, you know, I want to talk about mutation testing. I want to talk about verification. I want to talk about the whole spectrum of things, and that I would do in a software engineering course. Okay. So when you went to my course page, did you see the project at all there?
I did.
Okay. So I've tried many projects for this course. In fact, my summer is spent trying to come up with a creative project for the course. And this time, I'm just going to do something I did last time. Okay? And Brit scene, does that strike a chord somewhere? From a movie? A British movie? Monty Python? Okay. So you're going to enact that scene in your project. Okay, and you're going to have people going down the gorge, and you're going to have them, you know, answering questions. Okay. And it is, you know, people do find it fun, even though you guys, you know, the movie was made centuries ago, right? But people seem to know I mean, you know, I've forgotten the questions, but whenever I demoed in class, last time, people just knew the questions at that point. So that's what's going to be, and so I'm going to just reuse the project, okay? And like I said, there'll be an assignment due every week. And right now, I'm a little tentative about what's going to happen in this course for various reasons, and you'll see soon. One of them has to do with how much help I have with teaching assistants. Okay, so if we don't have enough help, or if there's some other issues, I might just reduce the number of assignments. Okay, but what I will do in that case is make certain assignments just totally extra credit, so you can just do it so that you have a fully functioning system. So, you know, it's all fun. Sounds good on the first day of class. You know, we have to talk of reality now. You know, you've got your physics homework, you've got your philosophy homework, and you just didn't get enough time to do your programming course homework. Or you got stuck, okay? So what happens when things go wrong? Not if things go wrong, but when things go wrong. Actually, it's somewhat if. People do manage in time. But we have to cover the case when you can't finish things. So, you know, so the obvious way to make sure that you don't do the physics, you work on my course other than the physics course, is to have a drastic late penalty. Whoever has a higher late penalty will probably get your cycles. Right? Unfortunately, that's true. So when I first started teaching undergrads, I was teaching grads before that, and I would just put 3% a day as late penalty. Who cares? They got the work done. What do I care when they got it done? But undergrads, you guys have a much heavier course load. You're younger, okay? So you may really need the stick. So so what do you guys think? One day, a week late, how much should you lose? 0% is what you obviously want. What's a reasonable thing you think? What do other classes do for you guys? Or what was the previous class you took? Letter grade a day. Yeah, that might be what it comes up to. So you can submit up to 1 week late. And if you do it beyond 1 week, you get no points for the assignment. Okay, that's drastic. And so I give the assignment on Thursday. It's due the next Wednesday. If you do it the Wednesday after that, 10%. Okay? You do it the Friday after that, 25% complete, okay? So that's what I feel is reasonable. It seems to be a reasonable stick, okay? And I see people nodding, and that's good, okay? But it's always a tricky issue. You know, this computer science is hard, programming is hard, and it's fun when you do the bridge scene, but it's, you know, it's got pain also. Okay. So what happens if you just got that flu, you just got that, you know, you had to go to this, something happened, and you're just behind by a week on every assignment. So you're losing 25% in the first one, 25% in the second one, and you're just losing 25% of the full grade, even though you're doing all the work. So what do you guys think I should do in that case? I could just tell you, okay, you know, you couldn't do assignment 1, I'll give you my assignment 1. Build on that. Okay, you guys like that idea? You do? Anybody not like the idea? You'll see that there's a lot of creativity in this assignment. I'm not going to say just do this, this, and this. You know, I'm going to let you draw Arthur or Galahad in different ways. So what does it mean for me to give you my version of it when it won't gel with what you have? Okay? And if you couldn't get the first assignment done, how are you going to get the assignment 2 done because you don't have the foundational concepts? These are all, the assignments built on each other, so do the concepts. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, can you guys see the answer now that what I'm going to do? No, I can't. I can't be so heartless that just make you lose the points. Okay. No, I don't. That is even being more heartless. Professor. Okay. So inside class, you've got to be sometimes a Mr. Hyde, you know, even though you're really a nice person outside class. So what we'll do is we'll shift dates. Okay, we'll say, and we might even do this after the fact. But if you are behind in assignment 1, we'll just, and you submit assignment 1 when assignment 2 is due, then we'll just say fine. Assignment 11 will never be done because you're behind. So let's just sacrifice assignment 11 and make assignment 10's due date be assignment 11 and 9's 10 and so forth. Okay? You decide that, you know, you realize I went to this sports meet and I got another week behind. Well, assignment 10 will never get done. So now let the date for assignment 9 be the date for assignment 11, and so forth. Okay? So we'll do things at early. You know, we will give you a chance to build your own things, but the later things you won't do. Rather than my giving you assignment 1, I'll let you not do assignment 11. Okay? So that's the goal, and that gives, I mean, you know, what you're saying just makes our life so much easier. You lost the points, forget it. And we have to go and deal with all the students and say, okay, let's shift the dates. It's not easy, okay, and there's more load on the TAs, but you know it's the right thing to do. Okay, so so what if you get permanently behind? Now, if you it's okay because you might just lose out on, you might be late on assignment 1 and be able to do assignment 2 and 1 by the next. That's fine. It's only when you get permanently behind that I suggest you do this. Okay. And what if you go and do assignment 11 even though you have been shifting your dates? You manage to do the last assignment. We'll take that into consideration one way or the other, and I'll talk about that. Okay? So you can shift assignment date n times if last n assignments will not be done. Okay? And we'll just work with you on seeing what you can do and what you can't. Okay? So let me just... And I'll talk about the fudge factor, but there is a fudge factor I will have, which is just based on impression. It's beyond the regular credit. So if you do finish the last assignment, we'll take that into consideration. If you could not do assignment 1 in time, and if you have only 4 assignments, then assignment 3 is due on the assignment 4 due date, and so forth. Okay? And you just skip the assignment 1. And if you can only do 1 and 2, if you're behind by 2 weeks, you just do assignment 1 and 2 and you sacrifice 3 and 4. Okay? Questions?
So you're saying that we're not losing points if this happens?
You are losing points because assignment 3 and 4, you'll get 0 points for. Yeah, you will lose, you know. So you will lose points for what you did not do.
So it's not recovery.
No,
It's not recover each other.
it's not recover each other.
Yeah, like if you did then you get back the 20%.
No, so if you do assignment 3 and 4, just tell us. You'll create a good impression on me. That impression I will use when I give grades. But I don't guarantee. And what I typically do is I just give you 50% of the points of the assignment that you did do. Okay? But the whole point is that you lose no points for 1 and 2. And you lose complete points for 3 and 4. And I suggest you don't even do 3 and 4 and go and focus on physics and philosophy.
So if we skip twice and at the very end we turn in 3 on the last 2 days, make up for those 2.
You create a good impression on me. That's,
No points back.
who knows what I'll do with that impression? But tell me about it. Okay? There is a fudge factor. You know, people do that all the time. If you do badly on your midterm and you do fantastic on your final, I'll look at that and I'll push you up. Okay? So that much discretion you have. This is not an automated robotic factory. Okay? And what I will probably end up doing is give you 50% of the points for assignment 3. Okay? That's what I'm saying. But, you know, you're going to be behind unless you go and sacrifice your Thanksgiving break and your October break, which, you know, I advise you do if you are interested in getting a good grade. Okay? I would do it. Okay?
So all the assignments are worth the same points?
Are all assignments worth the same points? Not necessarily. Okay? But they're almost the same. Yeah, so that's a good point, that you might lose out 200 points in assignment 11 versus that. But the whole point is you're getting points for what you did. And I'm not just taking 25% away from you. I just feel I just don't like late penalty. You know? You did it. What am I punishing you for? It's just punishment, right? So, but that's a stick. So don't become too complacent because of this, because you will lose, if you don't do one assignment, you're losing a letter grade, clearly. Okay? And the whole question is to keep things, you know, there's a lot of trade-offs, like I said. Okay, other questions? So I should have said do submit sacrificed assignments. So every time you move an assignment date further, you sacrifice an assignment in the future. Okay? And if you do manage to finish the sacrifice assignment, then let me know, which is what I was saying. Okay? And if we are really short-handed for TA-ships, you know, we may not do this. So this is all based on, you know, what's going on at that time. Working versus almost working. So what do you think? Should we insist on completely working assignments, or should we say, you know, they missed out on 2 lines. They didn't quite know what those 2 lines were, but we know. So what's happened in your previous courses? Yeah, sure, you can do extra credit later.
Or, no, partial credit.
Partial credit. So how much should the partial credit be? And what headaches does that create for us?
Oh, I just have a question about the grade. So when you mean working, like, output is working as intended, or you just mean the design of the actual?
I mean working. Firstly, output.
Okay.
The design, you know, design points you can always give them 20%, 30%, 40%, whatever. But there's a big difference between, you can design it beautifully, it doesn't work, you know, should it be worth anything?
With the way the class is structured, would the design heavily impact the rest of the preceding assignments?
So the design will affect the succeeding assignments, but what I've really done for you is help you decompose your project into parts by breaking it up into assignments. So already, if you just do the assignment, it'll all add up. Sorry. Yeah. Right. So the difference is, what about, so that's working, okay? So we'll take off the points for the extra test case. But what if it produces no output at all? But you've got it, you know? So that was the question. And yeah, did you have? So anybody who wants to be added has not filled the sheet? So there's a big difference between getting code working and almost working. So that extra feature that you talk about, you may have written code for it, but it doesn't work. And as far as we're concerned, you didn't write that code. Okay? And because it's just too hard for us to figure out where you, okay, that's one reason. It's way too hard for us to figure out to what extent you got that code. Now, when it comes to exams, we will give you all kinds of partial credit. You get one line correct in that whole program, I'll say 2 points. You know, at least this line goes somewhere, I know. Okay? You don't have a chance to debug it. Whereas in the project, you had that whole till 11:59 on Friday to debug. One person went out with their friends, the other person went and worked and got that line working. You know, who am I going to reward? Okay? So there'll be a big difference between getting it working and not working. In other words, having your code tested or not. And you know, it makes sense. You know, we talk of this thing as being our subject as being computer science. But it's really engineering, right? You're building things. You're an artist almost. You know? It's creative things. You become a scientist when you try to figure out why something is not working. That is when you say, okay, I created this artifact. It doesn't work. Let me investigate what's going on. And that investigation, I've spent 2 days trying to investigate what went wrong and change one line. Okay? And that 2 days was worth something. So that is what's going to happen. We will give you partial credit. Please don't feel too scared. But it's not going to be worth that much. Okay? So that is important. So we will give you partial credit, but very little if the program is not working. If the program is working, we'll go and further then see whether your style was good. There's no point having great style if you don't have the output. Okay? In fact, if you have the right style, maybe there's a better chance you'll have the right output. So that's going to be another constraint. And like I said, errors will accumulate because of layered assignments. You will go back and fix things later. Your grade will all be taken that into account. Okay? So normally, if you finish all the assignments, you do fairly well in this class. So as far as I understand, we're going to have 2 TAs and 1 UGA. One of the TAs is in China who just had surgery. So we're trying to figure out what's going on there. So that's why things are a little bit in flux right now. But we are here to help you get it working. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do to get it all. Talk about the fact that this class is not small, at least. Okay? It's largish. Okay? It's not 300 students, so in that sense it's small. But for a course that requires a project, that's a pretty large class, especially if we're going to help you get your projects right. And especially if you're going to have, the ratio I'm talking of assistantships, it's just, I guess, a reflection of the times that normally we'd have much more assistantship, many more assistants for the same number of students. Okay? And now, some of you have been in large classes. So what goes wrong in large classes? I'm just curious. I'm not asking you, I'm asking you sincerely this question. I want to get an idea. So what are some of the things to worry about in a large class? That I should worry, yeah. Sorry, a little loud. One of the things I have to worry about is that the voice doesn't reach me. So the grading curve. Well, actually, so that's another question. How will I grade? Will I grade on the curve or will I grade on an absolute basis? I'm going to do something in between. Okay, the university has no rules about what to do in this situation, and I'm going to give you a lot of extra credit. Most of my students end up getting, the ones who get A's get more than 100%, in fact. Okay, so that's how much extra credit I give people the chance to. They don't do exams that well, but like I said, I give ample opportunity for extra credit. And so that, just trust me, the right thing will happen. Okay, but in terms of learning, what are some of the issues that you might have seen? Yeah.
Lack of personal attention.
Lack of personal attention. Okay, so maybe I'm reading your face because you're right here, but I can't even see her face right there. So that's one issue. Other things that may go wrong, yeah?
It can be very difficult to sometimes get questions out if everyone has a question. So while one person's question may be answered, you may have a different one that you can't get to because it's such a large class.
Okay, so there may be more questions than I can answer. You know, that doesn't happen. What happens is the other way around. That, you know, when there's just the four of you who've been talking to each other before class started and feel comfortable with each other, you don't mind asking the question in front of your other three classmates. But when you're right there and this guy says he's written 20 classes, and you say, God, you know, I'm not going to ask this stupid question. And that's what happens. And that's what breaks my heart, you know, that you're not asking the questions. Okay? Hopefully, if I'm teaching well, you won't have many questions. Right? So, well, we'll see. But certainly personal thing is an issue. What other things can go wrong?
It can be difficult to find time in office hours to have like that one-on-one.
Oh, God, you know, that's my biggest fear this semester. You know, that how are we going to manage office hours? Okay? I've got a solution right here, okay? And I need your help here badly, okay? And let me also say that I'm very scared. I've never done this before, but I think it can work out if you guys all help out, okay? And we'll talk here. Other things? Yeah.
It's like that thin line between collaborating and taking people away because there's just so many people working together.
So you're saying that there's a thin line between collaborating and cheating. And if you're going to have people work together, you've already gone to the solution that I want you to help the other person get their stuff going, and we'll see why that's good for you also. Okay? So this class is large, and what are the issues? You know, you're all paying attention right now because A, you don't have your philosophy homework in front of you, and B, you know, you haven't made enough friends on Facebook who are sending you messages about interesting things. And you know, I used to think that if somebody is going on Facebook, it's because I am not interesting enough. But I realized I can't compete with Facebook, no matter, you know. If I'm teaching you dry computer science, how exciting can I be, right? So it's, you know, if you're right there and I can't see it, and you know, it's your problem, you're adults, and I can say it, and I can sleep well after, you know, based on that thought. But part of the reason why you come here and not go to an online course is because you need somebody to sort of make sure you do the right thing, okay? So it's easy to hide diversity. And the other thing is that, you know, we're not all shaped the same way as this picture suggests. We are different, right? And you're coming from, we don't require you all to have taken 110. You could have taken different courses and learned different things based on how well your high school instructor motivated you and made you work. And you know, so diversity is normally good, but you haven't taken the same prerequisite. A lot of this stuff has to do with programming and my showing you programs and talking about programs. And programs, you know, is a different language, and we get very nerdy. And the thing is that some of you are just so good at quickly scanning this and pointing out errors in my code that I never saw, and I stared at it for 10 hours. And some of you are still trying to figure out what the first line is, and so forth. So this is where I really, when things go wrong in a class when I'm teaching, when I start talking about programs is when things start going wrong. Now, a lot of people solve this problem by programming online, and rather than flashing programs, just programming in front of you. That's okay for 101 maybe, but that limits what you can learn in this class. If we're going to write this large program, we need to go and have the concepts be presented at a faster rate. And I can't type. I'm a two-finger typist, so, you know, forget it. Okay? I mean, I've done that in 110 sometimes. So So that's the problem that you face. And what's a well-known solution that you might have seen to this problem, where people have different pace? There's different pace at which different people learn. So you said you like the fact that there was recording, so right? Why are recordings good? You didn't understand things in class, you can go back and look. Okay. So have a YouTube video of the class. Okay. So what I do in every time I've taught this course, I've taken my PowerPoint slides, I recorded this. There's a way in PowerPoint to go from this to a video. I post this in the YouTube video, and I can see, I mean, in YouTube, you can see how much people are viewing, and people do go and view those regularly. In fact, 50% of the class stops attending once they see the YouTube videos. They say, you know, we can just see the videos later. And I wondered, you know, I mean, whether they get hurt. So every now and then I'll just take attendance, and then I compare the grades in the midterm and final to the attendance, and those who aren't attending are doing just fine. Okay? So why not make, rather than considering that a bug that people are not attending, let's just consider that as a feature, that look, these things seem to work. And so let's go to an inverted class. Right? Anybody been in an inverted class where you did work in class and you watched the, you were just one person? Two? I've never taught one, so this is why I'm scared. Honestly. And like I said, if you're scared, you do a good job sometimes. But how was it?
It was actually a lot of fun.
Sorry?
It was a lot of fun and it was pretty awesome and really useful.
So it was fun and useful?
Yeah. Because while we were working in class, the professor was right there because we had questions about the assignments. And then that way we could sort of skip past the lectures and get straight to the work. And that way when you meet the professor, he's right there, you just ask him a question.
Okay, so it worked for you.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good. It worked for me. It gave me more time to be flexible with my other schedules, my other classes.
Okay.
So I can kind of learn the programming class at my own pace when I needed to, and then when, like you said, whenever you needed help, you could just go to the professor.
Okay.
When you needed.
When you needed it, right? And anybody else? Tell me what went wrong also. Anything went wrong?
One thing that I kind of have trouble with sometimes is that when there's a class like that, the professor could sometimes tend to rely too much on the video or the outside resources that you have rather than teaching you what you might need to know in the class. So like I had a professor that he would teach some, but like whenever there was an issue, I found myself doing a lot more research because he didn't really fill the gaps and stuff over there. So sometimes it made it harder if you didn't understand something.
Okay, so you're saying that there was less teaching done and more research done, and that's sometimes good. Honestly, sometimes you don't want a polished lecture. I always say that a lecture should be like a mystery novel. Never tell them that the butler did it at the start. Let's go figure out together who did it. Give them bad clues, okay? And let's go and, because at the end you will remember why the butler did it. And that's the key. So that's why a lot of you will take notes. And maybe you won't even read the notes later. If you read the notes later, those notes are not as good as a beautifully written description in a textbook. But you will learn far more from the notes because you have to fill in the blanks. And by filling in the blanks, you learn. If it's beautifully written, you just go to sleep and say, yeah, obviously. And why am I asking questions here? Because if I ask questions, you think, and then you retain. Okay, that's called the inductive way of learning. This deductive where you just present the stuff in a beautiful fashion, and the other person just takes notes. Okay, and it's not clear what effectiveness of a lecture is, how much you remember of it later. Okay, anything else that went bad? Yeah.
Yeah. In one class, I found that some lecture is not related to the assignment completely.
Okay, some lecture is not related to the assignment. By the way, to fix your problem, I'm going to give you a lecture that I recorded last time when I was teaching. Okay? And my assignments, my lectures are totally geared to the assignments. Absolutely geared. Okay? So you will see how you were taught, or somebody else was taught, and if you have personalized questions, those will be answered. Okay? That's my plan. And like I said, I'm scared, but I think it can work. Okay?
So are we unready?
We are, let's just talk, and yes, that's the plan. Okay? And let's just talk about, and we'll have to figure out, it's easy to see what we won't do in class. We won't do lectures in class, except I will do, now and then I will do some lectures for gaps that need to be filled. But we have to figure out also what we will do outside class, in class, and that's something we, as the class progresses.
So what's the difference between Friday
Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of restlessness right now. We've got 5 more minutes, right? Okay, so please don't be very restless. Let's go and finish things. Okay, let me just go at my pace right now, and I'll try to answer these questions. So the rest, in fact, in the Friday's class, you'll get a lecture. Okay, but we'll see that. You come to Friday class also. So firstly, what do we lose? Okay, let's try to figure that out. Personalized questions. You're seeing how I answered questions from my previous class. What about your questions? Okay, and if you've taught enough, you've covered the questions people have. Okay, so hopefully there won't be many such questions. Okay, there's always PIAZZA, and we'll have a discussion in class also about what you learned. Okay, and so if you post a question in PIAZZA, we'll go and take those questions and cover them in class. Okay, that's my thing. And please, like I said, since I'm scared, I'm nervous, I don't know what to do right, I will take any and all feedback you guys give me. Okay, and I have a very thick skin. You can tell me what's going wrong, and if somebody goes and tells me what's going wrong, I think that's the highest compliment somebody can pay you, because they're helping you improve. Okay, so if you want to send me mail, that's fine, but just post in PIAZZA. Don't flame. Okay, and some others can say, no, I don't think this is working so well. So we are going to design not only your project, we're going to design the course also as we go along. Okay. And again, I'm going to take the full 12-15, okay? So don't be in a rush to just sprint out, okay? One of the issues, as you can see, that I'm trying to use the Socratic approach. I'm not just telling you what's going on. I'm asking questions and you're trying to answer. Do you lose that in your inverted class? So when you guys had videos, were they videos of live lectures, or were they canned videos? Live lecture? That's music to my ears.
He did personalized videos, so he recorded them from his phone. He was basically a lecture.
From a live lecture?
It was not a live
Not a live lecture. And what do you think? Do you think you would have preferred a live lecture?
Possibly, because that way I can see what other people's questions were.
Thank you for saying that. Because everybody I talk to here says you're doing wrong. People cannot see a video for more than 15 minutes, but they see a nice movie for 3 hours, so I don't understand why they can, see not. So the question is the video so boring that you can't subject them to more than 15 minutes of torture? But that's exactly what my viewpoint is, that I want to ask the questions. I want the person watching the video later to think about the answer, even if they can't really hear the answer. And you will be able to fast forward and rewind. And I'll show you all the things I've done. I've spent my whole summer sweating about this. Okay? It may all be fruitless, but at least I've tried. Okay? And you like the live lecture idea? Okay, good. So I'll stop at this point, and we'll carry on from next time. Yeah.
So, I'm a graduate student from the Information Science Department, and I just signed the wait list of this course.
Yeah.
So, and I also signed here.
Good.
So, do you think I have to
I don't know. Somebody has to drop.
So, still, someone has to drop. But since I'm on the wait list, so if somebody's dropped, I'll be a person.
You'll be somewhere there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, Sam.
Do you have a specific IDE that you recommend?
Sorry, let me just get out of this. Huh? It's been still.